Hello, I'm Dr. Rand Ramsey, and on behalf of Mission College, we welcome you to our 4th annual Women in Leadership Changing the World Awards and Conference. The purpose of our Women in Leadership program is both to educate about the contributions of women historically and to honor women today that are making differences in their communities and in their world. This year's 2021 award recipients for this great honor are first Dr. June Rumiko Klein of the Santa Clara County Board of Behavioral Health and from Palo Alto University, as well as Commissioner Amanda Ray of the California Highway Patrol, and Ms. Reggie Littlejohn, founder and director of Women's Rights Without Frontiers. Thank you for joining us today.
The question is, how do you manage through those big changes?
If Amanda can do it, then I can do it. So I think that I may have inspired people in the walk that I've taken.
So this is a rare unifying issue.
Called the leading voice in the battle to expose and oppose forced abortion and gendercide in China, Reggie Littlejohn is the founder and president of Women's Rights Without Frontiers. A graduate of Yale Law School and an experienced litigation attorney, Ms. Littlejohn is an acclaimed international expert on China's one-child policy. Having cultivated a network of field workers inside of China, her organization's boots-on-the-ground approach has not only saved the lives of hundreds of unborn baby girls, but also, through its Save a Widow campaign, cared for, given hope to, and offered life-saving support to hundreds of elderly women, largely forgotten due to this same policy. Her expertise on the subject has been sought out by international governing agencies and by some of the world's leading media outlets. In the United States alone, she has testified before Congress 8 times, appeared on ABC, CNN, and the BBC, and been the subject of published features in the Washington Post and New York Times. In recent years, Reggie's educational and informative pedigree as an advocate for the voiceless has also garnered her a coveted TEDx Talk speaking engagement. Her inspirational work to cast a light on the invisible continues to this day.
People often ask how I got involved with this work. The answer is, I'm an attorney, I am a graduate of Yale Law School, and while I was practicing law, I represented a refugee from China, and she had been forcibly sterilized and persecuted as a Christian. This was in the mid-90s, and this is when I found out that, I had heard that China had a one-child policy. I'd never stopped to think about how it was enforced, and this is where I found out that it was enforced through forced abortion, forced sterilization, and even infanticide, the killing of infants. And just on a personal note, a big part of how I got involved with this, are 2 more things. Number one, I worked with Mother Teresa in Calcutta in her home for abandoned baby girls. And she started that home when she found a baby girl in a trash can. So that is also a part of why I care so much about the abandonment of girls. But then the other one is that I had 2 miscarriages. And so those were devastating experiences for me. But out of that pain came the commitment to so when I found out about these women who were being forcibly aborted in China, obviously I've never been through the violence of a forced abortion, which is, police breaking down your door and dragging you out in the middle of the night and strapping you down to a table and forcing you to abort a baby that you want. Okay, I can't say that I've ever been through anything that even remotely resembles that. But what I have been through is the loss of children that I wanted, so that when I found out about the forced abortion, I think it hit me on a gut level that it would not have otherwise. And that, I think, really, in many ways, this entire mission is dedicated to the two babies that I lost through miscarriage. I was just an obscure person. I was actually very sick. So that's a whole nother part of the story. And found out about a Chinese human rights conference that was happening in Brussels, and I emailed the president about forced abortion in China, and he invited me to present to the European Parliament about the forced abortion in China. And I did that. And then all of a sudden I became a world expert on that. And that's how Women's Rights Without Frontiers was born. I had I really was not thinking about founding an organization, but for whatever reason, I was open to it. I was open to sort of the leading of the spirit. And it became clear to me that this was the direction, basically, that God wanted me to head in. So that's what I did. Some people sometimes wonder whether I face a lot of hostility for what I do. And actually, I face hostility from the Chinese Communist Party, and but other than that, I don't face a lot of hostility, because I believe that the issue of forced abortion is something about which everybody can agree, whether you're pro-choice, whether you're pro-life. No one is in favor of forced abortion, and also the sex-selective abortion of baby girls. And so, for example, with respect to the Uyghurs in Xinjiang province in China, they are being forcibly aborted right now. They're being forcibly sterilized. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo labeled this as genocide in his last day in office. And the new Secretary of State Blinken has said that he agrees with that. And there was an act passed by Congress and the Senate that was equally strong between the Democrats and the Republicans, opposing the horrific crimes against humanity, including forced abortion and forced sterilization that's being practiced against the Uyghurs. So this is a rare unifying issue. And what I would like to see is, in 2022, believe it or not, China is slated to host the Winter Olympics. And I don't think that they have any business doing that. So I would like to see the Olympics moved. I am in the process of formulating a plan to try to influence the International Olympics Committee, the IOC, to take bids and move the Olympics, because the Chinese Communist Party is just going to use this to issue propaganda, trying to make themselves look great, and they don't deserve the huge and prestigious honor of hosting the Olympics in 2022 when they've just been designated as committers of genocide. I think that a really key element of leadership is the passion of the founder and of the leaders. And a lot of times that passion comes out of a painful experience. You think of various nonprofits and people who had founded these nonprofits. There was some devastating experience in their life that they had to reach really deep within themselves to overcome. And then once they have done that, then they have something to offer the rest of the world. And they also have the credibility to speak to other people about whatever it is that they're doing. I'm just thinking of like Johnny Erickson Tada, who had, had snapped her neck during a body surfing accident, and then founded this awesome organization helping people with disability rights. There's just a lot of nonprofits where the founder went through what they're trying to offer to others. And I think that if people have an experience of pain in their lives, to the extent that they can just not just ignore that and turn themselves away from that, but actually enter into that and overcome it and come out on the other side, then they will have something that they can really offer other people in the world. Women and men are both called to leadership, probably about equally. And So the fact that there are so many more men in leadership than women is something that really should be addressed. And women, I think, need to be in leadership to show girls and young women coming up that we can do anything. And something that I started believing when I was just a little girl was women can do everything that men can do, plus we can have babies. So. Something that I think is really important in the nonprofit sector for women and girls who are aspiring to found a nonprofit is to get a marketable skill first where you can support yourself and stay out of debt. Because there's nothing that's going to chain you down more than having a big debt and no ability to pay it off. So financial independence is absolutely a precondition to founding a successful nonprofit. And it will give you staying power. Most new nonprofits don't make it. And, most new nonprofits, they don't start generating a donor income for years. And you have to have the financial ability and the fortitude to make it through those early years where you are basically financing your own nonprofit. And it's coming out of your own resources in order to finally make it to the point where the nonprofit is generating a donor-based income and is able to sustain itself. So that's probably unusual advice for somebody coming from the nonprofit sector, but that's really, I think, is true. I am extremely humbled and honored to accept this award, and I want to thank the Mission College and Professor Ray-Am Ramsey for your commitment to international women's rights. And this award is dedicated to the 400 million women and babies who have been forcibly aborted in China, the 200 million baby girls worldwide who have been victims of sex-selective abortion, the women in the Xinjiang province of China right now, the Uyghur women who are at this moment being forcibly aborted and sterilized. And also to our field workers who are so brave in getting life-saving support to baby girls and abandoned widows in China, victims of the one-child policy and now the two-child policy. So on behalf of all of those, I say thank you from the bottom of my heart for this wonderful award.
Despite her inclination to shy away from praise and accolades, Amanda Ray has proven time and again that she is more than deserving of such. An inspiration to those who have come in contact with her over a celebrated 3+ decade career, Ray is a true pioneer in California law enforcement. In November of 2020, she was sworn in as the first female and second African American ever to lead the California Highway Patrol. Firsts have become commonplace for Ray. Prior to her current appointment, she was the first female African American to hold the title of Deputy Commissioner. Bestowed with the distinguished honor of becoming the agency's 16th commissioner in its 91st year of operation, Ray now guides more than 11,000 members statewide. A 31-year veteran of the department, Ms. Ray ascended through the ranks with an unyielding faith in her abilities, a belief in her goal-setting approach, and an unwavering desire to make a difference in people's lives through public service. A passion for her profession that transcends her lofty title, Commissioner Ray views her place in the CHP not as a job, but as a calling.
So for me, my story begins in my hometown of Oakland, California. Growing up, my parents encouraged me to follow my own path, and they emphasized that there was nothing that I couldn't do, if I put my mind to it. So my mother was very active in the community and in the church, and I mean, I can't, for most of my youth, I just really enjoyed being with her and going out and doing all the things that she was doing in the community and in the church. So one of the things that I learned early on was that I had adopted her heart of service. So as I grew up, I had a passion for sports growing up, and I was fortunate enough to play basketball at UC Berkeley on a scholarship. And so while I earned my bachelor's of science in psychology. So originally I had planned to be a dentist. That was a profession that I was gearing towards. But that changed when one of my teammates recruited me to the Highway Patrol. And once I became immersed in this career and learned all the things that the Highway Patrol was doing in the community, and I just really, the dedication, the nobility, the honor, and all the things that are associated with this career, I realized this was my calling, and I stayed. So March 12th of this year will mark my 31st year with the department. And that's the first day I stepped grounds on the academy here in Sacramento. So, but now, I think 31 years later and having this amazing opportunity to be the commissioner of the California Highway Patrol and to lead this great organization, that's pretty much has been like icing on the cake. What does good leadership look like? So from my eyes, as a young officer, I just look back and I see how I was mentored by so many amazing leaders, and I'm truly thankful for all the talented women and men that preceded me and helped to shape my career. So throughout my career, I actively sought out opportunities that would allow me to learn and improve my professional skills, my leadership skills, and my personal skills. I was fortunate to have great leaders throughout my career who led by example. They inspired me to bring out my best and who had an incredibly positive impact on me. So the focus, I think, of good leadership extends outside just the employee and extends to that person as a whole. You have to know your people. It means caring for our people and their overall wellness. Good leadership means they're being engaged. It means setting clear expectations and being fair and impartial. Good leaders, they provide training opportunities and guidance for their people, and they help them improve themselves and achieve their goals. So that's at a minimum. I would say that's the beginning of good leadership. With that comes regular follow through and ensuring that people are meeting the expectations that they set and that you set for them. So to the extent possible, good leaders, they get to know their people so that their leadership styles will reflect the people they serve. For me, I find that it's important to be a situational leader. You have to be able to bring in whatever leadership style best fits the person that you're trying to lead. There's times where I'm going to have an adaptive style. There's times where I'm going to have sometimes even authoritative. It just depends on the situation. So I think on my department, our people come from all kinds of backgrounds and experiences. So I have to be able to motivate them all. I have to be able to coach them all and to get the most out of everyone so that they can give their best to the people of California. Successful women can serve as great role models for other women as well as men, and their organizations, and bring a different, because we bring different values, a unique perspective, and sometimes different skill sets. So I think we all share a part in defining the future of women and women leaders in law enforcement and shaping who we are in this incredible profession that I'm in. So I think for all of us, when we're developing leaders, I just think our collective work, and you're talking about whether it's men or women, our collective work makes our communities better places to live. So I really believe that both women and men bring great skill sets. It's just a matter of who is the best person for the job at hand. And I just think as long as those playing grounds are equal, then I think made the best person for the position be the person that's in it. But I do think women bring a unique perspective. The only limitations that you have are those you put on yourself. So what I would encourage young women to pursue their dreams. I would say whatever those dreams are, that you should pursue them. Set goals throughout your life, because you're going to change as you're moving through this world. So you want to definitely make sure that you're setting goals, realistic goals throughout your life, and never stop working to attain them. Select your mentors carefully, because you want to have people that are doing what you're doing, some people that you can talk to, that you can look across from. You want to have people that are at that next level where you want to go. And then you want to have people that are at the ceiling that you hope one day to be, so those are people that if you have mentors at every level, then they're going to continue to pour into you throughout your career and throughout your life. And that's going to be very helpful for you. I know for a lot of your students, I know that for many of you, you come from different walks of life, from different places, different countries even. And one of the things I would tell you, and there may be some challenges that are associated with that, but you got to just meet them head on. I could tell you growing up, like I said earlier, growing up in Oakland, and then being thrown from Oakland public school systems and going into UC Berkeley. Yes, it was a challenge. I could tell you that, but it was because of learning institutions like the one that you're in, and because of, I'm sure, some of the incredible instructors that you're going to meet there. Those instructors and some of those counselors and people, they were there for me, and they were there to help me to meet some of the challenges that I faced moving through the institution. So I tell you, to me, I think adversity brings opportunity, because it makes you dig deep, and it makes you go in and see what you're made of. And I think all of you have incredible things inside of you, and incredible things that you're going to be able to draw from, that are going to help you to meet the challenges that life are going to bring you. So really, I tell you, the future, I think, is going to be brighter, knowing that you guys are there, and that you're going to go out to the world and just really make the world a much better place. First, I'm so very thankful and honored to receive this Women in Leadership Award, and to join this elite group of leaders who have previously been recognized in the last 3 years, including pediatricians, business leaders, university educators, and others who have distinguished themselves. I also want to recognize and thank Mission College for hosting this event for the 4th year. I think it is the 4th year going on now. To support and celebrate women in leadership, especially during the pandemic. I can't thank you enough for all the work that you guys are doing at your institution as well. Continuing to teach our students and to set them on the right path during these challenging times. I can't even imagine. I have a son finishing up right now at the university, and I just know it's been a challenge for him. So I applaud you for all you're doing. To receive an award from an institution of learning is really, for me, very special. So I'm very pleased to accept this award on behalf of the 11,000 women and men of the California Highway Patrol. And again, just to receive an award during these challenging times, even for law enforcement, I am grateful. So again, thank you for this award. I'm very thankful.
Dr. June Ramiko Klein has been a guiding light at Palo Alto University for almost 2 decades. An influential leader in the day-to-day business operations of one of the country's most respected mental health education institutions, Dr. Klein has cultivated a management of change philosophy that has not only motivated, but inspired those around her. A storied and celebrated career in nonprofit higher education, accolades naturally followed. In recent years, her work as Vice President for Business Affairs, as well as the university's Chief Financial Officer, garnered her CFO of the Year acclaim from the Silicon Valley Business Journal and from Financial Executives International, Silicon Valley. But it is the attention she provides away from her 9-to-5 that may be most influential. Passionate about diversity and multicultural and multi-faith dialogue, her impact reaches far beyond her professional acumen. Dr. Klein is a current board member of the Palo Alto Family YMCA and the Santa Clara County Behavioral Health Board. Her charitable actions, fundraising, and community service involvement has positively affected thousands of underserved individuals with severe mental illness and underserved youth, both in the Bay Area and beyond. Her amazing work continues to this day.
The goal of trying to change the world is a very common theme with educators and usually somewhere in the mission statement of most universities. My journey from the for-profit world, where I spent half my career, started with learning about how nonprofits, and specifically ones I admired, like the YMCA, Kiwanis Club, League of Women Voters, and of course the PTA, where I learned about the inequities in our public schools, but also met amazing kids that proved that education is the great equalizer. When I joined Palo Alto University, then Pacific Graduate School of Psychology, I began to learn about mental health. Our family had several generations of bipolar disorder and severe depression, but neither side, Japanese nor German, wanted to talk about it, so my husband and I knew very little growing up. When the suicide cluster happened in Palo Alto, I volunteered because it just made sense to me that the culture of not talking about it was not helping our kids. The work with Project Safety Net led to being nominated to be on the Santa Clara County Behavioral Health Board, which I have been honored to serve on for the last 4 years. I learned something every time I attend a meeting, and in the COVID-19 pandemic, where help does not reach those who are suffering the most, nor has the disease affected populations evenly, I'm even more motivated to help those most in need. I think in the age of cell phones, we have come to understand what it looks like to see the world in someone else's eyes. And it's frightening, actually. And I think it's good for us to see that. And so that's why I volunteer for all these different task forces, because I learn a lot. And it's good for my soul to try and help make that better. I think good leadership is very contextual. So every leader needs to understand the context within which they're working. And coming out of high technology, I was at one point enamored with Japanese management for manufacturing and quality control and root cause analysis. Thought I was going to do a doctorate at one point in Berkeley around that. And I still really believe that leaders should not make decisions until they understand the root cause. Similar to, I tell people when I'm looking at certain reports, I can tell the patient is sick and has a temperature, but I don't know why. You have to ask a lot of questions. You have to ask why 5 times. And so I think good leadership understands that there is a context, it may be a unique context, but they do need to ask a lot of questions and then be thoughtful. The other thing is, I've learned, particularly working at a school of psychology, at a university focusing on psychology and counseling, that there's a lot of human emotions involved in managing people. I tell people all the time that my job is to help make you successful. So I look at myself as a servant leader. Not everyone does that. I'm not motivated by power or money, hence I'm in a nonprofit being the operative word. So I look at myself more as a servant leader with my goal to make the people who are trusting me to help them, to make them successful. So that's my goal. the same reason why you want faculty that look like their students. It's very difficult if no one you work for looks like you. And with 50+% women in the workforce, and if you look at higher education, it's closer to 60% of the students who are in college are women. What that means is that you have a diverse management stream coming on. I just want to say that women have a slightly different perspective because of the time clock. I mean, I can tell you right around 35, and maybe it's 40 now. In fact, my daughter says there are a lot of employers who offer to freeze your eggs. So great. But back in the day, that wasn't available. So 35, that was the talk around the water cooler. I don't even know if they have water coolers anymore. They probably don't. And we would say, have you planned on this? And what do you think about that? And then, there's chat with the doctor that you're an older mom, and what that means. So I do think there's this sort of perspective of having to deal with that's a little different than the men. This is the advice I would give to young people who have similar values, and probably the advice I would give to my 25-year-old self today. Make your choices, adjust, repeat. You cannot have it all, but you can focus on what is important to you. I am honored to accept this award. For the last 30 years of my career, I have been trying to come to grips with the fact that I had to make choices around where I spend my time. I wanted to have a marriage, a family, a stable home life, and a fabulous career since I was in college. Dr. Brene Brown, in her latest book, Dare to Lead, shared her research on values and asked readers to pick their top 3. Mine are balance, which I interpreted as work-life balance, integrity, and making a difference, or in my words, changing the world. Those have been my choices for many years now in that order. That was how I ended up in the nonprofit world, and specifically in education in 2002. I want to thank President Maureen O'Connor and President Emeritus Alan Calvin for supporting both my work at Palo Alto University, but also my work in the community. And thank you again to Mission College, whose vision and value statements have many of the same values that I am passionate about.